Hello, Rebecca Fry. This is my story. This is another attempt to read a post from Elonishi Muskamoto. Just very, very good. It's worth considering the content of it. I've read it a few times already, but saying it out loud, reading it out loud, gives personal insight into myself. So we'll give it a shot. I have a new setup where I'll just turn. This is tethered to this on my desktop, and I downloaded X onto it, and I'm gonna just read from the post. I tried this device. It doesn't work, but it does help if I want to like walk around and film. Already a minute into it, and this is a pretty long script, so just do the best I can. Have an air conditioner on. I don't think it's going to interfere with sound. We'll just see how it turns out. Probably be fine. This is a parody account. The writing is so familiar to me. I think that it's written by Elon Musk. It says, could the universe we live in be a dream? A collective dream in which we're all involved at the same time. Many people ask, I don't want to have to retake it, but I'll just keep going. I was gonna get focused. Shit. A collective dream in which we are all involved at the same time. Many people who ask this question today have looked for answers in, again, BOOX. You'll have to help me out here with what that word is. Some new words in your writing. Books. Oh, books. Let me try. Books. Boo-X. Okay, I'm trying. Oh God, I had trouble laughing last time. Many people who ask this question today have looked for answers in Boo-X, books, and movies. They present interesting pictures to us, but they asked the same question 1,000 years ago. And 1,000 years ago, we encountered something called Plato's cave allegory. Plato said, there's a man standing in front of the cave with his back to the sun, and he sees the inside of the cave. He's never seen the sun in his life. He always looks at the wall of the cave. When the sun rises and sets, he always looks at the wall of the cave. I said that twice? When I focus, it's going to be good. I just not. This is the first time in this kind of a setup, so we'll just keep going. God, I'm wasting time. 4 minutes and I haven't gotten to the third paragraph. God help me. And 1,000 years ago, we encountered. Okay. His back is to the sun. He sees the inside of the cave. He's never seen the sun in his life. He always just looks at the wall of the cave. When the sun rises and sets, he sees the movement of the shadow and his own shadow on the wall of the cave. Ellipsis exclamatory. And based on that shadow, it can be aware of the existence of the sun. He becomes aware of reality. But he's never been in direct contact with the sun itself. It's always been an indirect communication. The information came not directly, but indirectly. So now when we take this and adjust it for today, Plato even adds something like this. He says, we perceive the entire universe indirectly in this way. He says we have no direct contact with reality. When we adapt this to today, we have the following information. We perceive the universe, and all information comes to us through our 5 senses. Scroll, scroll, scroll. It was 14 screenshots. In other words, there's a filter between us and the universe. I'm going to sit up. Between the inside of our brain and the universe. The 5 senses in this filter. We look at something, but we don't see it directly. Ellipsis exclamatory. And its image falls into our eyes, and that information is transferred from our eyes to our brain. Okay. Through nerves, okay. And that transmission occurs as an electrical signal. We can think of these nerves as biological cables. Very good. An image is formed in our brain, a picture. And this is how we see the outside world in our brain. The same goes for hearing. When the sound hits our ears, those vibrations are converted into information. And I lost where I was because I got distracted by a moth. Oh, I don't want to be silly. This is serious. We hear the whole outside world in the brain. However, our brain hears all the sounds of the outside world in a sound-insulated environment inside of our skull. Same goes for if we touch something. Oh, this is getting interesting. We touch our hand to something hot, and we think our hand is burning. But we feel that pain in our brain, but actually the hand is not burning. We think of someone who's been paralyzed from the waist down. In other words, the nerves going to his legs, to his brain, were interrupted in his spinal cord at the waist. No, I missed a period. Yeah, no, I didn't. Missed a comma. In other words, the nerves going from his leg to his brain were interrupted in his waist and his spinal cord. At the waist, it was interrupted in that tininess image that the person cannot feel his legs at all, and that would not hurt him in any way if he were pricked by a needle or came into contact with a hot fire or a hot liquid. Let's give 3 more examples. So even if you cut off that person's leg, he will not even be aware of it. He doesn't see with his eyes because he doesn't feel. He won't feel. Why? Interrogative, exclamatory interrogative. Why? This is too much. All that information is processed in the brain, but that information flow does not reach there because it's interrupted in the spinal cord. We can apply this to all 5 senses, and we can apply it equally to taste. God, I love this. So, then there's a filter between us and external reality. We have no direct contact. Yes, we do. He sees the shadow with his back to the sun, just like the man in Plato's allegory of the cave. But in reality, that is, the sun has never had any direct contact with itself. Then we can ask this question. If we had no direct contact with the outside world, how can we be sure of its solid existence? Is that its physical existence? The whole universe is an image formed in our brain. How can we prove that is not the case? Is there any proof of this? Let's do an experiment. In this experiment, let's have a dream. Let's get into a dream. Let's say, scroll. In the dream, someone comes and asks you the same question. The tooth asks a question, okay. How can we prove the reality of the world? The physical solid reality, and how can we know whether it's true or not? Then we can give an answer like this in the dream. But we are not aware that we are in a dream. We don't know about this. Then we could say this: if all are perceived in our brain, then since our brain consists of a solid substance, we can ultimately touch our brain and it has a physical presence. Then we can answer this proves the physical reality of the external world. Because the most logical answer that can be given there, I guess it couldn't be said about anything else. But when you give this answer, you're not aware that you're dreaming. I said you had no idea. Smile. Exclamatory. Now it's time to become suddenly aware when we are in a dream. We showed its solid reality. There is evidence. But that brain of ours in the dream, the brain we show as evidence, has no physical solid reality. Then this opposition completely collapses. When we bring the same question here again and look at it, how do you know there's not such a thing here? Since we're talking about physical solid reality, let's add another interesting thing here. That's Pythagoras' idea of digital universe. Pythagoras says that the universe is a book written with numbers. I love the Pythagorean theorem. Please notice that these are words said in sentences made thousands of years ago. When we bring it back today and adapt it, quantum mechanics today tells us about the particles under the atom, what quantum world is like, and how quantum mechanics works. So what does it tell us? There are atoms. Yes. There are particles called electrons, protons, and neutrons that make up them. Space period. Proton, positive charge. Electron, negative charged. And finally, neutron, uncharged particles. And these have subparticles. Oh my God. Neutron, bosons, quarks, and many other particles you can think of. All of these appear as electrical charges, positive, negative, or neutral particles. There's a tremendous diversity in the universe. There are the elements. Atoms make them up. Do you know what the only difference is between them? The difference is what creates this infinitive diversity. Oh, that's an interrogative. How do I make that a question, exclamatory question? The difference between is what creates this infinite diversity. That still doesn't sound like a question. The difference in between is what makes this an infinite diversity. Just the change in the number of protons of atoms. Look, protons are the same. All the same charges on all atoms. Only they're tic-tac-toe. What's a pound? Numbers. Only their numbers change. And those numbers change. This tremendous diversity in the universe emerges. I love that. That's correct. Comes to our mind then this sentence by Pythagoras. the universe book. The universe is a book written in numbers. Did it remind you of divine coding? Yeah. Yes. In fact, it has no solid reality. We are only talking about positive, negative, and neutral particles we use in this computer. But a three-dimensional code can be written. Can the code of the universe be manipulated? Hell yeah. Can the universe be hacked? Of course. How does this happen? Divine intervention. He tells exactly how it happens, actually. If we could add the universe, we could teleport. That's step 8. We could instantly move from one place to another with millions of lights. It's kind of, we'll talk about that later. And we could also travel through time. Yes, because when you say universe, we don't just mean space. Along with this, there's a concept called time. I love it. Space and time are inseparable in any way. Being able to manipulate the universe would bring about both teleportation and time travel, correct? We see that these two are actually the same thing. This aside, it's a matter of the code of the universe. Beautiful. Beautiful. So what kind of synthesis emerges when we combine these two with Plato's allegory? We can never be sure of the physical reality or solid reality of the universe we live in, and fuck it. We're all involved in a collective dream. Yeah, that is actually an acronym. Fuck. It's an acronym for the new system. But crumbs, you'll find out. And we change it in time of an interactive dream. In this dream, we can make changes to this environment. We can influence each other. Exactly. As we interact and influence each other on X. Code for smile. You have a magnificent and more than perfect universe design before you. That is correct. That's why I prefer to call it divinely intelligent design. Beautiful. So the big question is, how did we get here? Or even the bigger question is, who are we? Who are we? Children of God. Sometimes the most difficult questions are the ones whose answers seem to be the simplest, as Da Vinci once said. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. It is. If you can't explain something simply, then you are not having a good understanding of how it works. So that's a great insight. Let me just go with, who am I? And it's a little I. It's not cat. The answer to this question will take you much deeper beyond concept, 18 minutes, to a beyond soul within the person, and its answer reveals a question that many people, hundreds, thousands of mystics, thinkers, philosophers, have asked, but not been able to answer or explain clearly. We actually travel through time every moment we live. That's right. That's right. I'm not talking about time flowing forward. I'm talking about something completely different. Dear valued Exians. The concept is called light. That is. Light moving at the speed of 3,000 kilometers per second helps us transfer information at the same time. While we sit and talk at each other, look at each other, communicate not only with each other, but also with nature, the universe, space. How, for example, at night, on a summer night, or on a beautiful day, today's beautiful. For example, lying on the grass in the air, watching the stars, we encounter their images while watching objects in the sky. That's good. However, those images come to us from perhaps millions of light years away. Who knows? Excuse me? This also means we are watching millions of years ago. We're watching the history of the universe already done by the Creator. And since each of the stars we watch in the sky are different distances from us, It's as if we're watching different histories on a single painting on a screen or at the same time. In other words, it's on sky screen. Sky screen, like a time machine or a time travel movie, being played on a giant divine screen. When we look at the events from this perspective, we encounter a completely different version of the universe, a completely different idea of existence. So let's end today's Elonishistic post by asking the most straightforward question. Who are we and where did we come from? At Elon Musk. Yours, Elonishi Muskamoto. And then there's a beautiful GIF image of a heart that's twinkling or like glowing behind some stars. So, it was posted at 8:41 p.m. April 6th, 2024, and at the time of now, which is 4/6/2024, at 4:25 p.m., it has had 4,702 views, 74 comments, 44 reposts, 133 hearts, and 33 bookmarks. Well, I enjoyed this. It's almost 22 minutes and 22 seconds, but I'm going to let it go early. This is Rebecca Fry, and I'll make a few more if this turns out okay. Catch you on the other side.